up, everybody? It is Kato back with Journeyman Sports Podcast. We are here with episode number, I believe, 42. Um, I know it has been a while. Me and Garrett have both been very busy, but I'm going to try to get back on it, especially with the draft coming up and a bunch of exciting things happening in the NFL with a bunch of coaches moving around. Obviously, we'll see what all of that looks like once we actually get into the season. But for now, I kind of wanted to jump into a mock draft or do a mock draft 1.0 and kind of see where we land, just to kind of start off draft season and everything like that. I'm sure there will be some reaches and some disagreements, but that's kind of the fun of all of this anyway. So let's jump right into it. Obviously, we already know Fernando Mendoza is going to go number one. I mean, pairing him with all that young talent on that offense is going to be very fun to watch. I do think there will be a little bit of a struggle with him going from a heavy RPO system to more being in a lot of shotgun with Clint Kubiak and different things like that. But I think he will quickly adjust, especially if they can get that offensive line together. I think obviously any young quarterback is going to struggle when they're thrown behind a offensive line that allows a lot of pressure like they did last year. I mean, one of the worst offensive lines we've seen in a long time. But I think Mendoza is the type to be able to adjust to that. He's smart enough. I mean, you saw all season to pick apart defenses in a very accurate type of way that you just don't see very often, especially with a rookie coming into the league. And then obviously, Heisman, great character from everything that we've heard from behind the scenes and from everything that we've seen with your own two eyes. So I think he's a no-brainer pick there. Obviously, I know it's kind of chalk at this point, but still important to talk about because it is the number one overall pick in the draft. You want to make sure it's on point. With the Jets moving to number two, this is a team that I think has been followed very heavily by a lot of analysts. Obviously, they need to add a lot of talent within this offseason. Aaron Glenn is definitely on the hot seat, trying to figure out what he can do to save his job. Being more of a defensive coach and being that he's going to be the one calling the plays this year, I do see them going with the defensive player, at least with number two. Um, Adding to that offense as soon as possible, I think would definitely be a priority with their later pick at 16. But here, I think you need someone that's going to be an immediate difference maker, someone that can instantly come in and make an impact right away. And I think that's Arvel Reese. Arvel Reese can be one of the best players in the draft, if not the number one best player in the draft. I mean, I think that'll be Mendoza for good reason, but on the defensive side of the ball, I definitely think you're getting a blue chip prospect here. He's very good at seeing the field as a linebacker. Obviously, insane hit power, very very fast, quick off the edge, more off ball, or more downhill, but he's still a very good blue chip prospect that can easily slide into your defense right away and make an impact on a Aaron Glenn defense. I mean, you've seen what he could do back in Detroit with the defenses there. I think him calling the plays this year, even though he wanted to be CEO, head coach, kind of moving into more of that defensive coordinator role and moving back to that defensive side of the ball, I think that will benefit the Jets very, very well because I do think he is a smart defensive coach. So high hopes for them. But I think here they go Arvel Reese at number two, and it's very easy to feel like you got one of the best players there. So awesome. Moving to the Cardinals. Obviously, we don't know what's going to go or what's going to happen with Kyler Murray. Is he staying? Is he leaving? We'll have to see. I think more people think that he's leaving then is really feasible. That's a lot of money to have to move around, and I think it's going to be similar to a Deshaun Watson situation in terms of the contract. Very, very hard to move that amount of money. I mean, obviously, you could find a suitor for a guy like Kyler, but at the same time, a guy who's been injured a lot of controversy around his name. Not sure how sought after or how much of a package you're going to get for him. So I think here you just want to kind of ensure whoever is going to come in after him. So I do think you want to go offensive line. Um, Obviously, you have Paris Johnson on one side. I think adding Francis Maganoa, I think is how you say that. I think adding him to the other side of that line. Obviously, he played very, very well all year. Was able to protect Carson Beck all the way to the national championship. Great size, great power, can pass block, can run block. Probably a little bit better at pass blocking than run blocking, but I could definitely see him being a franchise right tackle or left tackle for them going down the line, whichever side Paris Johnson isn't playing on. Um, I think he can go in there, get the job done, and ensure that you have two ready to go tackles for whoever is going to step into that quarterback job next, if it's not Kyler. So I think we're looking pretty good with these top three so far. I do, think it's going to be a very, very good edge class down the board. I think you're going to see a lot of edges go within the first round, just because there's so much talent on that side of the ball. I think there's a lot of talent outside of quarterback. I think everybody's really hung up on the fact that the class may not be quarterback heavy, but if you really look at it, I mean, there's depth at receiver, there's depth at corner, there's depth at edge, there's depth at interior defensive line, interior offensive line, tackle. So really everywhere else except that quarterback position is pretty loaded. I mean, obviously you would like to see more talent than just Jeremiah Love at that running back position, but you can't have your cake and eat it too necessarily. So here with the Titans, I could see them going with an offensive player easily as well, to help Cam Ward out. But I do think they're going to more look to go to the defensive side of the ball, just having Robert Saleh there. Kind of the way that he liked to draft when he was with the Jets, or how that front office liked to move. So I think he'll carry some of those tendencies over there. And the defenses were a lot better for the Jets when he was over there as well. So I think definitely want to get a defender that you can, again, slide right in there, have him be an instant impact, help out Jeffrey Simmons on that side of the ball, because it seems like he hasn't had help for a very long time. Um, could go secondary. Obviously, could see the argument for a receiver here as well, but I think Ruben Bain is an easy chalk pick just to throw on the board right there. Obviously, two Miami guys going back to back is pretty cool to see. But I think Ruben Bain, even though he does have shorter arms, I think he can be a very elite talent, ready to go talent, a blue chip prospect for you right out of the gate, and make an instant impact. I know he wasn't the biggest sack guy in college, but if you just look at what he could do when it comes to run stopping and getting into the backfield, putting pressure on these quarterbacks, I think Ruben Bain is a very, very good pick to pair with Jeffrey Simmons on that defensive line right away, and make an instant impact for that defense. So I think Titans fans would be very happy to get a talent like that at 4. Moving to the Giants. Scatabo, everybody knows I love Scatabo. If you've been watching the podcast for a while, I love Jackson Dart as well. I think there's a lot of talent on that offense. I could obviously see the argument for offensive line here, want to protect Jackson Dart as much as possible, but I do still think there's going to be a heavy running element to his game. Just seeing that the way he was with media, even when he was called out, acknowledging that coaches wanted him to stop running the ball, or at least slide and get down when he instead of taking big hits, he was still kind of resistant to that. So I do think he's still going to take some of those hits this year, regardless of whether he has a great O line in front of him or not. Um, Not saying that that doesn't make offensive line important. So, hmm, I think here we are still going to go offensive line. I know I kind of talked away from there, or uh, I think yeah, I could see a Spencer Fano going here, a Monroe Freeling, someone with extremely high upsides, someone with extremely good size, extremely good feet. Um, Stood out all the way out throughout his collegiate season this year. So that could always be an option. I could see or a Vega Ione going here. Even as I know he's been mocked to go, late 20s. I've seen him as high as top 10 as well. Honestly, I really like him because he's just kind of one of those prospects that doesn't have he has a very low floor, is the way I should say it. Um, he has great size, great feet as well, great power. He can run block, he can pass block. Obviously, I think that could be a great option for them as well. But I do think there's better talents here, and I think with John Harbaugh coming in, he's been known to like those developmental players a lot. David Bailey is someone with a that's lightning quick, can get after the passer a little bit more, maybe more than what Ruben Bain showed this year. I think John Harbaugh would love a David Bailey here at number 5. Um, Pair him with Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter. You have Dexter Lawrence. You have all these other guys on that defensive line that can get after the passer. A CEO, head coach, someone that likes to overlook the defensive lot, someone who had a ton of elite defenses when he was with Baltimore. Definitely going to be looking to set the tone coming to New York. So I think David Bailey, again, is just adding even more firepower there. I know Kayvon Thibodeau is also coming up on a contract year as well, or he may have already gotten extended. I'm not completely sure on that. But even then, having more, you can never have enough edge rush. You can never get after the passer enough. And I do think there's going to be enough receiver talent here to where you can grab offense in the later rounds. I don't necessarily think you have to spend that high, but how often, especially if you're looking to turn things around, are you going to be picking in the, top 5? Especially with the head coach looking to come in and set the tone, and has proven that he can do that in other places. So David Bailey is a really good pick for the Giants here. Some people may see that differently. I'm pretty confident with that one there. Um, then here with the Browns, a lot of good options here as well. Obviously, that defense was very, very elite this year. I don't think we really need to add too much more to that. What they are looking for is an extremely good offensive talent here. So it's really the pick of the litter. I don't think Jeremiah Love is really an option for them with Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson already in that running back room. So I would not see them going that way. But Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon are all great options here. It's really just pick of the litter. I think whoever you like more. Jordan Tyson is somebody that's a little bit more injury prone than the rest, so maybe a little bit more of a risk. But obviously extremely good talent as well. Carnell Tate, your big body wide receiver that can go down the field and get it, make contested catches, beat the hell out of corners. That's what you love to see. Could definitely see, a Makai Lemon here as well. It's just again, those 3 is really just pick of the litter there. Pretty good receiving class, like I said, especially here at the top. So I think here we're gonna go with Jordan Tyson, someone that's maybe a little bit more risky, but has a lot of upside. Could be literally the best receiver in the draft in a matter of years. You need someone that can work in the slot, work on the outside, make contested catches over the middle when you want them to. Somebody that can use his speed to beat linebackers, corners, safeties, anybody that you really put in front of him. You've seen Jordan Tyson do that at an elite level and really help Arizona State kind of stand out in that area as well when it comes to their offensive side of the ball this past season. So I think, even though he's a little bit more injury prone, has shown, that he gets hurt a lot and different things like that. The Browns, taking a high upside player here, somebody that you can instantly pair with, either a Shador Sanders, a Deshaun Watson, whoever is going to be running that offense in 2026, I think is going to really appreciate them adding an elite talent to that you can really throw anywhere. Um, so love to see that there. Here with the Commanders on the clock, I know it's not a very popular pick. I know a lot of people, think, Dan Quinn is a defensive minded head coach. He's going to go with the defensive guy here. But I do think it's nice to be able to switch things up as well. I think, you need help here with at corner. Um, I could definitely see, a Kenyon Sadiq going here, even at tight end, just because, Zach Ertz has been hurt and he's old and he's probably not coming back, or he might have retired. I don't even know. But that could definitely be an elite option for them. Kind of reminds me of back in the day when they took OJ Howard. Terry McLaurin is a great talent over there. You have, Luke McCaffrey, um, Jalen Lane, nobody too elite. So I do think this could be a spot for a receiver as well. But at the same time, you have a lot of great edges on the board. So it's kind of, who do you believe is best player available here? And I think right now it's Caleb Downs. I think we're going to go Caleb Downs here. They need help in that secondary. They need people that can come downhill and punch people in the mouth. They need somebody that can play in the box or at nickel. Caleb Downs can do both of those things. Literally could be the best defensive player in the draft as well. Kind of one of those elite blue chip talents that just happen to fall outside the top five, because there's a lot of other good talent here in that top five as well. But Caleb Downs hits like a truck. He can play nickel. He can play in the box. He can play in the middle of the field. He's just a very good talent. You can kind of play him all over the place and he'll just go and smack anything. I know he's had comparisons to Kyle Hamilton, Minka Fitzpatrick, a lot of elite safeties like that are awesome. I could even, you could compare him to a prime Jamal Adams as well. I could see that too, just because of maybe not necessarily pure size, because Jamal Adams was a little bit bigger, but just the way that they hit, the way that they can play in the box, kind of the same thing there. So, I think that's a really good player for the Commanders. I do think, Dan Quinn, being a defensive minded head coach, will go that route. I would like to see them get more offensive talent in that room to help out Jaden Daniels, though. Definitely could be an offensive guard or tackle there too. All right, my New Orleans Saints. I know Jeremiah Love has been mocked here a lot. I've seen, receiver, I've seen defense. It's kind of, what do you believe is going to be the biggest need going into the next couple of years? I think it's immediate, especially after we got rid of Shaheed, which I hated, and I still hate as a Saints fan that we got rid of a guy like that, because I loved Rashid Shaheed, but I do think we got to go get another talent for Tyler Shuck to throw to, and I think Carnell Tate is going to be that guy. Carnell Tate, again, is probably my favorite receiver in the draft. I do think Jordan Tyson is a better fit for the Browns, just the way they are as a team. But I think Carnell Tate being, the big body guy that can go down, catch the ball on people's heads, um, just an elite talent. I super fast, can beat guys downfield, can play all over the place as well, and especially in this type of offense. So pairing him with another Ohio State receiver is very, very popular, I know, but Chris Olave and Carnell Tate together, that's going to be a very hard offense to stop. Of course, Jeremiah Love would love that as well, but I do think, we still have Kamara under contract for one more year. Let's ride that out. Running back is another position that we can kind of figure out too. Still got Kendre Miller, Devin Neal over there too. So still some upside in that running back room. I don't necessarily think we need to go draft that in the top 10 and spend a lot of money at that position. That being said, the Chiefs are definitely a Jeremiah Love spot. I definitely think they could go that route. I don't necessarily know if receiver is as much of a glaring need as other people think. Rashee Rice has shown a lot of upside if he can keep it together off the field, and stay healthy. I think he can be a very good talent for them. Obviously, we got to get Patrick Mahomes back for these guys. Is Travis Kelce going to retire? Is he coming back? We'll see. Um, and even if so, do you want to roll out him as your number one starter at tight end? Uh, and yeah, Xavier Worthy. I really like Jalen Royals as well, even though we didn't get to see him at all last year. We'll have to see what that looks like if he gets more playing time really into this season. Could this be a receiver spot? I don't necessarily think so. Defense wasn't necessarily a huge need as well. I think if anything, they would go into your defensive line. And I think here they do. I'm gonna go Caleb Banks here for the Chiefs. Just really, really good size if you look at it here. 6'6", 330 is going to absolutely help Chris Jones clog up that middle, and they need guys that can stop the run. I mean, it seems like Chris Jones been doing it all by himself for the longest period of time on that defensive line. Every single time he's had to come up with the big plays, make the big stops, and when he does it, it seems like he just gets a world of criticism for it. So I think going Caleb Banks here, another big body that can definitely play nose tackle and suit up next to Chris Jones, go get after, maybe not get after the passer as much, but definitely is going to help you stop the run, help stop the bleeding, help stop getting gashed, especially in a very good running division as well. What I think can be a great running division with Ashton Jeanty, RJ Harvey, and then Amarion Hampton. I think you are going to have a lot of running backs that you're going to need to stop twice a year. So, um, getting a guy that you can develop, especially with, Omar Norman Lott coming back this year, hopefully, and getting to see what that looks like. And still having Carl Loftus as up and down as he can be, adding Caleb Banks to that defensive unit definitely helps them out, especially in the absence of Patrick Mahomes, maybe for the first couple games this season next year. So want a good defensive unit to suit up with. I think Sonny Styles could be another good option there if you're going to look at defense and not go the Jeremiah Love route here. Bengals, I think you could go into your offensive line. I wouldn't hate it at all. I think they could use that. I think that's what we're going to do. I think we're going to go Vega Ione here. Not a very commonly mocked player at this spot. I'm not necessarily sure why. Again, kind of one of those guys with just an extremely high floor. Not going to scare you too much. You kind of know what you're getting out of a guy like this. And I think security is part of the pick as well. I think that can be part of the value. So, having a guy that can come in and help you protect Joe Burrow, especially a guy like Joe Burrow that's been injured so often and has had very little protection, obviously want to help that defensive unit. No doubt about it. But at this point, Sonny Styles would be a great player to take. I like some corners and things like that. But again, you have money in free agency. I know you're not necessarily the biggest spending team, but with Joe speaking the way that he did in the media, I think that's definitely going to be a wake up call. I think they're going to go after some guys in free agency. And then, of course, you'll probably go defense with every single pick after this in the draft, but protect your franchise guy, especially, having the elite receivers you do. You want to protect a guy like that, give him time to throw the ball. Give him another guy that can block for the run game as well and help him establish that so you can kind of open up the offense more than just throw it to Jamar, you know? So, love the top 10. I think we're looking pretty good in the top 10 there. Absolutely loving it. I am just going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right. And we are back. Sorry about that. Just had to take a quick break. Perfect. So the Dolphins here at number 11, outside the top 10 now. Um, Still a lot of good players on the board. Don't think this is a Jeremiah Love spot whatsoever. I think you have to go corner here, just seeing what they have at corner. Um, there's really not a whole lot in that secondary past Minka Fitzpatrick. Yeah, I there's really not much past that. So past getting him back, you don't have too much in that secondary anymore. Um, and I think here I like Mansour Delane. Mansour Delane has definitely risen his draft stock throughout the entire year. Has been an absolutely amazing talent at LSU. Not necessarily a shutdown corner, but I think he can develop into that. Has the size to do so. I believe he's in the 6'2" range. Oh, he's 6 feet tall. Um, but amazing ball skills, amazing man coverage skills, LSU talent. I gotta love it. No, go Tigers. And then I think here at number 12, the Cowboys are a weird spot because you have a ton of talent that's fallen to you. Is George Pickens going to be back? I think he will be. Um, do you want to keep adding to that defensive unit as it kind of seems that they've tried to do so far? I think that could be a great option. Do you want to take Jeremiah Love here at 12? I think that is the spot. I think Jeremiah Love goes here. Inside the top 10 is a little rich for me. I mean, you see what taking even a blue chip prospect did for the Raiders inside the top 10 last year at running back. It is something that can elevate your offense if you have the offensive line already kind of put together. I know the Cowboys offensive line is a good unit, but also having the weapons around that piece is very, very important, which I think the Raiders, have the opportunity to do so on the offensive line within this upcoming offseason. But adding Jeremiah Love to a ready to go situation with Dak Prescott, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, um, a ready to go offensive line or a ready enough offensive line to kind of insert him and have it instant blue chip talent. Someone that Jury will definitely love. Someone that Cowboys fans will definitely love, and no pun intended, but who wouldn't love to have that on the back of a Cowboys jersey? I feel like that just kind of fits. So Jeremiah Love to the Cowboys at 12. I think everybody would be very, very happy with that there. And you get maybe the best player in the draft at 12. So how could you not be happy there? The Rams, again, another really interesting spot. Do you want to go a guy like Sonny Styles that could play off the ball really, really well? Which is definitely more rare in the NFL nowadays to have guys that, aren't just your run downhill and stop the run type of linebackers. I think, yeah, I don't know if Sean McVay would necessarily go that route. You have Puka, Devontae Adams may or may not be back. We'll have to see. I would hope that if Stafford's back, he's back as well. Obviously, no for sure answer on that yet, even after Stafford's gotten the MVP. Um, do we? the line is already pretty good. Offensive line maybe could use some help, but isn't necessarily urgent. I think Sonny Styles is the pick here. We're gonna take Sonny Styles, help them with an off ball linebacker right away. You know, you traded Ernest Jones last year, got him out of there to the Seahawks, who he's helped immensely. You need another guy that you can kind of slide into that middle part of the field and help your defense out, especially in those big games. Because I do think this is a team that can make a run, but you need the guys in all the spots. You have another pick later on down the line to where you can take corner, you can take quarterback, you can take receiver if you want to. Um, that's the blessing with having multiple first round picks. So it's a good spot to be in for the Rams. Baltimore. I think Makai Lemon has to go to Baltimore here if he is still on the board. If you pair him with Zay Flowers, that's an instant win for Lamar Jackson. Gives him two weapons to go to right away. Definitely a Ravens type of player as well. And, you know, keeping a system guy that's already been with the Ravens before and Jesse Minter at head coach, you know, you're going to keep drafting within that system as well. That's been so successful for so long for the Ravens. And definitely get maybe best player available on offense here for the Ravens at 14. Don't think that's a bad pick at all. Think Ravens fans would be very happy to have a guy that is maybe a little bit more sure-handed, is not going to fumble the ball a bunch like Flowers does, unfortunately, in the big spots. So Makai Lemon to the Ravens to add even more elevation to that offensive unit and help them out down the road. Then we have the Bucks at 15. Bucks are kind of a spot to where they can take BPA as well. They're not necessarily in huge need of anything, but going hmm, I think going Kenyon Sadiq here makes a lot of sense. Giving Baker a instant weapon over the middle of the field that he can block. He's more of a vertical threat than he is a blocker, but absolute offensive weapon, you know, almost kind of a Kyle Pitts type. Don't necessarily want to make that exact comparison because Kyle Pitts is an insane athlete, but Kenyon Sadiq, even though he did have a little bit of a down year this year at Oregon, I think if he's developed the right way, Todd Bowles is coaching for his job, needs that offense to be a little bit more potent, especially since they have so many questions at receiver, you know, in terms of health. I think adding a guy that can be Baker's safety valve to just dump the ball to in the middle of the field is going to be very, very useful. So spending a pick on a potentially generational tight end at 15 doesn't concern me too much. They're definitely the best tight end in this draft. Um, the Jets here at 16 is an interesting spot as well. We got Arvell Reese for them at number 2. Is it quarterback? You know, do you believe in Ty Simpson enough to where you say, hey, I'm going to slide this guy in there right away and we're just going to make it work? Are we that desperate? I don't, you know, the Jets are definitely desperate, but I think they're going to bring in a veteran talent to kind of ride the ship. Is it Kirk? I know he's, you know, has been offered by the Jets in the past, hasn't necessarily wanted to go there. So do they go that route? I'm not 100% sure, but it's always a possibility, but I think the more safe pick here is just going to be continuing to add to that defense or get a weapon on offense. So all the top receivers are kind of gone. Do you believe in a Denzel Boston enough to kind of take him at 16 here, maybe a little bit high for again more of just a pure contested catch receiver is not necessarily gonna rip you apart in the slot, go across the middle too much, but did show at the Senior Bowl he can beat guys down the field, um, and was impressive in that way. I think we might just take it's really difficult here. Don't think we need to go offensive line whatsoever. I think we are going to take the chance on Denzel Boston for them here at 16. I know he's been mocked a lot to go here at 21 for the Steelers. Don't necessarily know if he falls that far. Just depends on how much wide receiver is valued. Again, I believe it could be a very good class for them. But getting a guy across from Garrett Wilson, that's kind of the opposite. I know Garrett Wilson is, can make any catch in the book and kind of can do anything, but getting a guy that can just purely go down the field and kill corners is going to be really, really fun to watch, especially once they get the quarterback situation figured out there. So get one guy on defense, get one guy on offense. I don't think you can complain too much about that there. I think Jets fans would be pretty happy to get two difference makers, especially if the kind of consensus top three wide receivers already off the board here. You get the guy that's kind of the immediate number four, and obviously down the road could be even better than that. But great size, great ability, great ball skills. Could definitely see him making it inside the top 20. So love to see that there. Um, Here I'm gonna go Keldrick Falk for the Lions. I think adding an edge across from Aiden Hutchinson could be very valuable. He's extremely athletic, extremely quick. Maybe the one of the best first steps in the edge class this year in the draft. Has been mocked, as late as 30. I've seen maybe even a day two player for some people, but for me, I definitely see him here inside the top 20. I think he's also a Dan Campbell type of player, just a guy that's kind of gritty, rough around the edges, and has a very high ceiling in terms of what he can be at the next level. If he reaches his ceiling, I think him and Aiden Hutchinson could be tearing quarterbacks apart for a very long time together. Here, I'm going to go Jermod McCoy for the Vikings. They definitely need help in the secondary. I think any top corner that they can get is going to help them. Jermod McCoy, not necessarily the highest on him, but he did show very high potential from what we've been able to see, if anything, in the past. Um, but definitely could be a kind of the mainstay at corner for them down the line if they develop him in the right way. Obviously, some concerns on what's going to go on with JJ McCarthy, but if we can shore up that defensive unit to help it out a little bit, I think that's the route they got to go. But they got to be able to stop people in the secondary, which they haven't shown to be able to do this year. If Jeremiah Love somehow falls this far, I think they instantly have to rip that pick as well. Um, just throwing that thought out there, but if not, definitely go best corner available here. The Panthers are another interesting spot. Do you think there's a wide receiver on the board? Do you want to take a KC Concepcion this high? Do you believe he's good enough to play across from Tet inside the top 20? Do you think you still need more help at the defensive level? I think they do. I think they go Cassius Howell here. More of your pure pass rusher with Cassius Howell. I think the size is great. I think the speed is great as well. But you need another guy that can get after the quarterback, and I think Cassius Howell can do that for the Panthers. As Bryce Young goes into a contract year, it's going to be very important that he has a defense that he can rely on the other side of the ball as well. So obviously the Cowboys got Jeremiah Love with their first pick at number 12. I think here you do want to kind of maybe look more defensively, help them shore things up a little bit, and maybe in the secondary, maybe a little bit more on the defensive line. I like what they're putting together on the defensive line, so I don't necessarily think it's as urgent as some people may. TJ Parker didn't necessarily impress me that much this year to where I want to, take a chance on him at edge here. Let me see who else is out here though. Akeem Messador is a guy I really like here as well. more of your ready to go right now edge rusher? Do we believe that Cowboys are ready to make a run right now? Because that would be more of the team that I would draft him to. Um, because he's 25, more of your kind of NFL ready type of prospect here. But if you're a team that's going to take, another 3, 4 years to be able to make a run, not sure he's necessarily worth taking for you here in the first round. Could this be a Spencer Fano spot? I don't think so. If anything, Avion Terrell, I know he didn't, I don't think he played this past year. But when we did see him play, he was impressive. A little bit more of a down year as well. Even the last year that we saw him play, kind of been a story with Clemson as well. I like the hulking nose tackle, Caden McDonald out of Ohio State as well. I think he could be a very nice talent. But again, is that a super huge need for them right away? I'm not necessarily sure. So CJ Allen is an intriguing prospect for me here too. But honestly, I like Brandon Cisse a little bit more than I like Avion Terrell for the Cowboys specifically. You get a little bit more size out of Brandon Cisse and a little bit more aggressiveness, I think, especially when it comes to man coverage. Brian Schottenheimer is definitely going to want a shirt up defense. You already got Jeremiah Love to help out your offense. Go get Brandon Cisse for the Cowboys here at 20. I think that is kind of a home run pick. I really like that pick, honestly. I wasn't necessarily sure what we were going to do there, but I think the way that that fell for them, they get really, really nice value down the board here. So Brandon Cisse to the Cowboys here at 20. You get Jeremiah Love at 12. Help out both sides of the ball there in the first round. I think everybody goes home happy. No one feels left out there. Here with the Steelers at 21. Think here's the Casey Concepcion spot. I think they just lack more offensive talent. I think you have Darnell Washington, you have Pat Freiermuth at tight end. Those guys are great. Darnell Washington can block his butt off. I think he can catch, he can move. He's 300 pounds. He's like 6'8". He's very, very good at kind of wrecking the game in all different types of ways. Pat Freiermuth, more of your vertical threat, more of a receiving threat than I think Darnell Washington is, but more of your one trick pony. So I don't think tight end is a need there. You got DK Metcalf, you got Calvin Austin as your number two. Not super confident in that. So I think KC Concepcion had a bit of drop problems in college, especially this past year, but a guy that could play in the slot may be able to play it and may be able to play it outside if you absolutely need him to, but maybe more of your slot guy work in the middle of the field. Definitely something that, is Will Howard going to need that? Is Ty Simpson in round two going to need that? We'll just have to see how that board falls for them, but I don't think they should rush a Ty Simpson pick here. Sure up that offense, get things built a little bit better around the edges so that when that quarterback does come in or when the right guy does come in down the road or in free agency, whatever that may be, you have that offense ready to go for him. So like how this draft is going so far, maybe some surprises for some people, but honestly, I think we've gotten really good value for everybody here so far, and I think we're making all fan bases happy. So, going here to the Chargers at number 22, what do we like here in terms of interior offensive line? I don't think Pregnon can go that high. I don't think Connor Lew's going that high. Spencer Fano, do we like him enough to take him here? I don't, they don't need tackle whatsoever. They have Slater, they have Joe Alt, obviously, even though they were both injured this past year. I do think that they need to go offensive line, though. Do you take a tackle and move them interior to guard? Their interior offensive line unit was one of the worst in the league. Do you just take a chance on somebody that you think is going to be really good? Kind of hard to say here. Honestly, the way the board fell for them is not too great. Do you take a Monroe Freeling, even though he's humongous, and try to make that work at guard just in terms of feet or the way that he can move his feet? I don't know. Caden Proctor, you got Spencer Fano here. Hard to say. Do we believe Fano can play guard, or do you just take BPA here? Do you want to help out defensive line instead? Honestly, with the way the board fell for the Chargers, I think we're gonna go Caden McDonald here. Peter Woods, just the whole Clemson unit as a whole kind of fell apart this past year, and I wasn't super impressed with what I saw from Peter Woods. I know he could be really aggressive at times. He could be a blue chip prospect and completely prove me wrong. But like Caden McDonald a little bit more, I think he brings a little bit more in your run stopping game and your pass rush. Obviously know they need guard, know they need tackle here, or not tackle. Know they need guard, know that they need some help at center. Obviously, Justin Herbert got torn apart last year, but just with the way the board fell, you don't want to reach for a guy even though it's a bottom or top 20s or top half 20s pick. Um, a little bit later in the first round. Still don't think you want to reach for an offensive lineman that you don't necessarily have to. I think, if you need to trade back into the first round to get a guy, maybe do that. But try to wait to that second round, pick up a guy that can help you out, or go get a guy in free agency that can help Justin Herbert out a little bit and not run into many problems. At nearly as much as he did last year. They were the worst unit in the league last year. So definitely got to get the offensive line figured out. But again, didn't like the way the board fell for them. So just gonna have to take what we can get. Really, really good player there with Caden McDonald. Not too upset about it. Help out the trenches on the other side of the ball and try to figure out what you can do in the later rounds there. Not mad at it. Eagles here at 23. Obviously, this could be a Kenyan Sadiq spot if he wasn't already taken, but Buccaneers take him at 15. Just gonna have to do what we can do for the Eagles here. But I really like Avion Terrell here. Obviously, as I said, Clemson unit didn't impress me too much last year, and I don't think he played very much or maybe even at all last year either. But from what you saw on film from the past, high upside player. Another, you could add him. You have him, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, all these guys to play corner for you. Starting to really look like how that secondary is looking, especially adding a guy like that. So don't think the Eagles would be mad if the board falls that way. Don't need help necessarily on interior defensive line, so wouldn't go Peter Woods here. You could take your Lane Johnson successor potentially as well, but not a huge need to do that when you already have that talent and you can get that guy down the board in the later rounds. So for the Browns, they took Jordan Tyson at 6, so don't need to go receiver here again. I think here you got to go tackle, take Spencer Fano, best available player there. More of a pass protector than he is a run protector, in my opinion. Not going to be amazing in the run game, at least initially, but I think protecting whoever is going to play quarterback there to throw to Jordan Tyson and all these other guys is going to be very important. So use your second pick in the first round to go and get one of the top tackles in the draft and just keep it pushing. Think that's kind of a no-brainer pick there, especially unless you like Proctor more, maybe like Caleb Lomu a little bit more. Caleb Lomu could also play more guard, maybe could be an option for the Chargers there earlier as well. Um, but again, not mad at Caden McDonald there as well either. So D line for or sorry, I was reading the needs. But for the Bears at 25, hard to say where they want to go here because you don't have super glaring needs. I would think you would want to go pass rush. Not loving either one of the Clemson guys here either, but I don't necessarily know if you can let Peter Woods fall out of the first round. So I think they do go Peter Woods here. Again, can be really aggressive and show flashes at times. I just don't know if he's necessarily my favorite first round guy. But with the way the board fell for them as well, you don't necessarily hate it. A guy with a lot of upside, a lot of potential on that defensive unit that just lacked pass rush last year. Their secondary is decent, could be better as well. But again, all the corners are kind of off the board here that would maybe go in the first round. So um, I think you're happy with the Peter Woods here, maybe a guy that's valued higher than what I see him, but Bears get maybe a steal in the back end of the first round here at 25. So Chicago fans are happy with that. I think Ben Johnson's happy with that as well. With the Bills, do you believe in a receiver? I think you have to believe in a receiver for them here at 26. I just don't think you can pass up that position. There's been so many complaints about it. There's not a more glaring position for them, maybe other than DB. Um, Maybe you wait till the second round, especially if the board falls this way. Again, you would be taking the fifth receiver off the board here, maybe even the sixth. So hard to say what they would want to do here. I really like Keith Abney, actually. I really like Colton Hood as well. Keontae Scott's really nice, but he's more of a nickel. You don't have you have more of an offensive minded head coach now. You don't have Sean McDermott there who's kind of commanding that defense anymore. So I think you would have to go receiver here. I like Chris Brazzell, really nice size, 6'5", 200 pounds, could be a really nice talent for them. Um, I like Zachariah Branch. I like Omar Cooper Jr. and Elijah Surratt as well. I don't think Elijah Surratt would go in the first round though. I think we're gonna go with more of the safer pick here. Let them take receiver in the second round. We're gonna go Keith Abney here. I like Keith Abney a lot. Showed really good coverage skills. Really, really aggressive corner for Arizona State. Um, Only reason he falls this late is just out of sheer needs for other teams. But I think here's a really, really nice spot for him. Definitely think he is going to be one of the top players in the secondary for you if you can get him here at 26. Don't think they go home mad at that at all, even though he could be seen as a second round talent. Again, some guys are going to creep up into the first round, and you just never know who that'll be. Corner is a highly valued position, especially in the modern day NFL. So a guy like that could definitely creep up into the first round for the Bills, especially if you don't like the receivers. And honestly, don't think you can, nobody super worth reaching for me here. I like Chris Bell, but maybe not enough to take him for the Bills there. Um, with Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir, though, you definitely got to take something in the second round. I like Khalil Shakir a lot, though. Again, same conversation here for the 49ers. I think they need another offensive weapon. A lot of that offense is getting old. I really like Eli Stowers as well, another guy that can block. He can block, he can catch the ball, good route runner. But again, Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings, who's Jawan Jennings is going to be a free agent. I think here especially in a Kyle Shanahan-esque offense. Chris Brazzell's speedy guy, can play in the slot, can play in the outside, 6'5", great size, could maybe even be that Jawan Jennings replacement. Might be a little bit of a reach for some people, but I think the upside is there. Chris Brazzell is going to creep inside the first round for us here in this mock draft and mock draft 1.0. I think I really like him there for the 49ers at 27. Um, Kyle Shanahan, I don't think would be mad about that at all. Got to give Brock Purdy another guy to be able to throw to. Christian McCaffrey's getting old. George Kittle is old and injury prone. You got a lot of expiring contracts on that team as well. So I think adding a young talent that's big, can go down the field, catch the ball, has good speed, has great size. I think that's a win for the 49ers there at 27. And then for the Texans here at 28, I think you got to go, especially when the board didn't fall necessarily favorably for them either. Jadarian Price could definitely be an option. Um, I like Jonah Coleman. Don't think running back is a huge option for them to be able to take here. Do you want to go get another receiver? You know, you have Tank Dell, who we haven't seen for a while. That could be back. Nico Collins is obviously a monster. Jaden Higgins is showed some flashes. Jalen Noel showed some flashes. Um, so don't think receiver is a huge need for them either. Do you want to keep adding to that defensive unit that's already super insane? I don't necessarily think so. I like Caleb Lomu here though, because you have kind of the ability to play him at tackle or guard. Um, so whichever one you feel like you need more there, I just think you need more help on that offensive line, especially when CJ Stroud has already kind of showed that he's rattled and maybe kind of on a down curve, whether he gets a contract or not from them or an extension or not from them coming up. We'll have to see. But Caleb Lomu could play tackle, could slide in and play some guard if you absolutely need him to, definitely. More of a run blocker again than a pass protector, in my opinion. But I mean, eh, they have him rated higher in the pass blocking area. So, but definitely has shown that he can do both, as you see. So a good talent there for them um, at 28 with the Texans. And I think that just can be a Laramie Tunsil replacement, kind of shore up that offensive line, add some experience, be something that can help that Texans offensive unit a little bit more since that defensive unit is already so elite. Um, then here with the Rams. They got Sonny Styles at 13. So they took care of that off ball linebacker spot, and that's going to be really valuable for them, especially already having that front seven kind of shored up on the defensive line. I think you got to take corner here for them, but there's already been a lot of corners to go off the board, and I think you're already kind of small. I don't think they would go a Keontae Scott route. He's kind of smaller. Maybe a Colton Hood is really good for them here. And you really even though, same height, D'Angelo Pons could even be a really nice option for them. A little bit smaller, but again, could play that nickel spot for you really well. I know they got some production out of Emmanuel Forbes this past year, but nothing great. Colton Hood is tempting here though. Keontae Scott showed a lot of potential as well. Uh, just keep helping that defense. Do you want to add receiver here and maybe take a chance on that? Maybe more pass protection for Matthew Stafford could do that as well. A lot of fun options. I think we are going to go the corner route, or maybe even Emmanuel McNeil Warren is actually going to be our pick here. You get some help at safety on the back end. He can play some nickel for you as well. He can play in the box, super aggressive safety. Really hard hitting safety, like forces fumbles like crazy. From the at least the film that I've seen. Really good skills. I know he's been compared to Nick Emanwari for the Seahawks, who pick later here at 32. So could be an absolute steal for the Rams there in the back end of the first round in this mock draft 1.0. Love love Sonny Styles, and then pairing him with Emmanuel McNeil Warren there is I see a lot of value in that. So tell me if you hate that one in the comments, but I think we're doing pretty well here. Um, then here for the Broncos again, another Emmanuel McNeil Warren spot that I've seen or not Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Um, Kenyon Sadiq. I've seen him mocked here a lot. If he falls that late, it's hard to see them skipping over him, but I think with the way the board fell, CJ Allen's a really good pick for them here. More of a speedy, kind of lighter linebacker, not super big. He's 6'1", 235, going to be more of a speedy kind of pass rushing type of linebacker. But you could be losing some of those. You can't keep all these guys together forever, unfortunately, especially when they've shown as much talent as they have on that Denver defense. I think you got to keep adding to that as well and making sure that that's shored up. So taking CJ Allen out of Georgia, already played in the SEC, has some damn near pro experience playing in that conference. Extremely good pass rusher, good first step, exactly what you want to see for the Broncos in a Sean Payton defense here in Denver. So 30, they go CJ Allen. Don't think anybody can be too mad at that. I like Caden Proctor here to play right tackle for the Patriots across from, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting his name? Will. Oh my gosh. From him is going to be very, very valuable for Drake May. Obviously, saw him get rushed a little bit more, hit a little bit more here in the playoffs than what you would have liked to see, struggle a little bit more. And I think some of that is due to pass protection that we've seen. But shoring that up, getting Caden Proctor from another SEC school that can go on that right side, play some right tackle for you. I definitely like that a lot. Monroe Freeling would also be a great option there. And then I think we're gonna shore up that back end of the first round with Akeem Messidor for the Seahawks. Like Akeem Messidor a lot. Again, more pro ready. I think Seahawks are in that Super Bowl window. It makes a ton of sense for them to keep adding to a already great defensive unit. Might be losing guys like Reek Woolen, so maybe another corner spot there in the back end of the first round. But gotta love a pro ready edge for them here at the back end of the first round with the last pick there. So Akeem Messidor, he's going to be an absolute destroyer. Already showed what he could do across from Bain at or in the national championship. You saw him absolutely tearing up that backfield. So both the Miami edge rushers go here in the first round to finish mock draft 1.0. I really hope you guys enjoyed. This was a ton of fun for me, even though I stuttered on Will Campbell there at the end. I'm going to leave that in the video just because why not? Um, it's fun to leave those things sometimes, but I think, first round goes pretty nicely. I don't think it's too unreasonable. Maybe some surprises for some people. Maybe the biggest surprise of the first round was Keith Abney or Chris Brazzell here. But those are teams that can afford to take some swings. And I still think those are great talents there. Had some fun there. Didn't see Ty Simpson go here in the first round. I think it's as of right now, and as we'll see things change, maybe Ty Simpson slips into the first round for me. But right now, I think that's kind of how things go down. So, Mock Draft 1.0 in the books, people. I hope everybody enjoyed. I will be back with more draft content because I love doing stuff like this. So look for more videos to be on the way soon. I will see you guys shortly. Bye.